okay, it's childish. Can't be no homegirl, drop it like the NASDAQ. Move white girls like this coat up my ass crack.
What is this?
Black girls.
And I'm excited to share with you today that the voice of Yoshi is Donald Glover.
Hi guys, it's me, Mario.
Man, I spent hours of my life stomping Koopas.
Before anything, thank you guys for the small support on my Hoppers video. Right off the bat, I like Mario, but I'm not like a huge fan of the franchise. Some of you can probably already tell by the fact that I have a Sonic profile picture, but I did always have fond memories about things related to Mario. Back in my childhood, I grew up with things like animated Mario parodies. I used to love those Smash Ball music videos.
My mushrooms now mega, if you know what I mean. So fuck it.
And I would get an absolute kick out of binge watching SMG4 videos. Those were the times, man. I still remember when I was 10 and the racist Mario animation had a different thumbnail. And that's essentially my experience with Mario growing up. I did play a couple of Mario games like Mario Kart, Super Mario World 3D and Luigi's Mansion 3, which is probably my favorite because I have at least 30 screenshots of the Egyptian chick saved in my gallery. I suppose I'll talk a bit about my thoughts on the first Mario movie, and I thought it was okay. It was a nice, cute and fun turn your brain off animated movie that's enjoyable to watch with a group of friends, and the experience is even more enjoyable if you have some sort of attachment to Mario beforehand, whether you're a big fan or just a casual. The animation is absolutely gorgeous. It's one of the best looking movies visually out of anything Illumination does, and I imagine parts of it is because Nintendo probably held them at gunpoint to prevent their beloved mascots from looking like this. The casting was pretty good. I still think Chris Pratt is a lame choice. A few is not going to save that. And I have nothing against Chris Pratt, but he just doesn't seem like he's getting into character when he's voicing Mario. I'm not hearing Mario, all I hear is Chris Pratt. I wish he could play up the Italian accent a lot more, like he did with the commercial at the beginning of the first movie, but I guess whoever the voice director was told Chris Pratt to just use his regular voice so that he can be recognizable, which is why he was casted in the first place anyway. The story was basic and serviceable enough. The movie is paced in a way that just goes from set piece to set piece, which is pretty much what I expected from a Mario movie by Illumination. All in all, for a video game adaptation, it was alright. Critics didn't love it, which sparked what is probably the most insufferable and annoying defense when it comes to fans of a franchise facing criticism towards their favorite IP. This is a whole subject that I will be discussing during my review of Super Mario Galaxy, which I'm pretty sure the very same thing is going to happen again with this one. Before going in, I did not have too much expectations for Super Mario Galaxy because 1, this is an Illumination film, why should I? 2, I don't have much experience with the Mario Galaxy games. I know some of the music, I know Rosalina is hot as fuck. I was just hoping it would improve most of the issues from the first movie, especially story and pacing. I also tried to avoid marketing of this movie because at one point 2 weeks before release they started dropping things left and right where I was like, why would you show that? All that being said, how's the movie? Well, I had fun during some parts, but my god, that was legitimately an empty experience. Anyway, here's the good first. The animation is gorgeous. Basically anything to do with the visuals, the colors are extremely well done. They pop on screen and it's beautiful to look at. This movie feels even more grand in scale than the first film in terms of its world and presentation. Well, it is a Mario Galaxy movie, at least for 35% of it. Just like the first Mario movie, this is the best in terms of animation and visuals Illumination has ever made, and again, I imagine that Nintendo was breathing down their necks for this, or else this is what you'll get. One of the things that bother me the most about Illumination animated movies is the overuse of motion blur. It looks very distracting, even for small movements they would sometimes abuse it. They toned that down for both Mario movies and Migration. It's simply more polished and pleasant to look at, especially if you want to understand what the hell is going on, which, trust me, this movie makes it a challenge. I also like the fact that sometimes there are shots that put the focus on a particular object and you can see how detailed it is, like the mushroom spaghetti from the first movie and now the paint from Mario Galaxy. There are some very impressive shots of space and different planets and they look like paintings. which reminded me of a much better movie in space I just saw recently. But anyway, the action scenes are pretty fun. There are several moments in this movie where the shots go on for a long time without cuts, with a lot of action happening, and I'm always fascinated when an animated film does that. All in all, every artist who worked on the animation should be proud of themselves and get a big fat paycheck because they did an incredible job. Brian Tyler's music is a standout. You do hear the same tracks from the first film reused very often, but there is enough new music here to appreciate. Music from Galaxy, from other Mario games, from other Nintendo titles. A surprising lack of music from Galaxy though, less than I expected. It was nice every time I hear a sample of Gusty Garden, but I felt like they just didn't commit to actually let that track shine. One positive over the first movie, there is almost no pop music. With one exception of an instrumental version of Hypnotize because I guess Illumination just couldn't f***ing help themselves. The last positive I have is the voice acting. Childish Gambino as Yoshi, he actually did a good job. It's just Yoshi doing cute Yoshi noises. We got Brie Larson voicing Rosalina, and she did a solid job voicing her, for the very limited screen time she has, which is all the more unfortunate because Brie seemed very passionate about the Mario franchise. Benny Safdie as Bowser Jr., pretty good, he was a fun enough villain. I like that he paints things and turns them into weapons, that was kinda cool. Oh yeah, and Star Fox was one of the coolest characters in the movie. Glenn Powell suits him really well. But if you will be making a Star Fox movie and I will be interested in watching it, please don't let Illumination make it. His backstory has some really neat 2D animation. That was one of the coolest things in the movie. Mario and Luigi at least are not separated this time, and Bowser and Bowser Jr.'s relationship is probably the most consistent plotline in this movie, and even that is underbaked. I am running out of genuine positives to say about this movie. Alright, let's get to this. Wait, my bad. When I say that Super Mario Galaxy felt more like an Illumination film than the first one is because of the writing department. The only problem aside from Illumination being that this is Nintendo jingling keys and throwing member berries at your face for an hour and a half. I can't even say that it has a story because it's just a compilation of little subplots and most of them are poorly developed. Some don't even have a proper introduction or build-up. They're just ideas that are randomly thrown in. They get explored for about 2 minutes and they either get solved extremely quickly or just forgotten completely. Some are genuinely f***ing useless. The first 20 minutes have somewhat of a narrative, or tricked me at first into thinking there was one, that I felt like was already introducing a bunch of things at a rapid fire pace, but at least I was still enjoying it enough. In the first 5 minutes, you get to know a tiny bit about who Rosalina is and her relationship with the Loomis, then she gets captured by Bowser Jr., plotline number 1. Mario and Luigi discover Yoshi and they befriend him, plotline number 2. Toad is kind of jealous of Yoshi, possible conflict. Mario and Peach have trouble expressing their feelings for each other, plotline number 3. Aluma escapes and tells Peach to save Rosalina, so she embarks on a quest with Toad while leaving Mario, Luigi and Yoshi to take care of the Mushroom Kingdom, plotline number 4 and 5. All this shit happens in the first 25 minutes of the movie. And I was still very forgiving saying that the movie was trying to build a barely coherent story. But it's hard for me to invest in it once I realize the film introduces a new subplot or conflict every 5 minutes and doesn't even take its time to breathe or flesh out its characters or previous plot lines in any compelling way. Hell, it doesn't even take its time to develop the new subplot and focus on it before jumping onto the next thing after 2 or 3 minutes. My brain was fried. It reminded me of Despicable Me 4, where the story is basically just a bunch of different subplots that do little to impact its story in any meaningful way. But then you realize that it doesn't even have a clear narrative. If you think the first Mario movie already felt like it had too much Illumination fingerprints in it, Super Mario Galaxy is as if Illumination is the whole cake and the Mario IP is the icing. I don't think the first Mario movie had much substance or anything that goes above simplicity, but guess what it had over its sequel? A f***ing story. And while you can argue that most of the scenes in the first film were also just an excuse to cram in as many references so that fans can soy out and point at the screen, which I don't disagree with, there was still a semblance of world building and writing characters even if it was the bare minimum. You get to see Brooklyn, you learn about Mario and Luigi's relationship and their daily lives and what they're struggling with. You get to see the Mushroom Kingdom, you get to see how the characters travel in this place and its quirks, you get to see Bowser's castle and you immediately understand the vibe of this place and its inhabitants. You get to see the Jungle Kingdom and how the Kongs live briefly. Peach has a personality and a decent dynamic with Mario. Mario has an arc, Luigi has an arc despite his screen time. In the first Mario movie, you at least get the assumption that the writer gave somewhat of a shit trying to write a movie. And in Super Mario Galaxy, it's like he just stopped giving a fuck. Super Mario Galaxy doesn't really have world building, not a single character has an arc or something to latch onto, maybe except the Bowsers. Everything is just going through the motions, it's nothing but random bullshit. And I know this is Illumination, but it's baffling to me nonetheless that a multi-million-dollar studio could not pay to hire more professional writers with a good track record, who could write something competent or at least give a shit. It also doesn't help that Miyamoto says this movie is basically a 40th anniversary special of Mario where the goal is to spot as many Nintendo characters as possible. I will definitely talk about the characters and save that for a whole section, but the next thing I want to discuss is watching this movie was like scrolling through YouTube shorts. I understand because of the target demographic, but this movie is so hyper-focused on jumping from scene to scene without giving any breathing room for world building or story or character development. It was kind of impressive. The only thing you can realistically take your time to enjoy is the animation and the Easter eggs. It seems as if the movie forgot that not all children or Mario fans who are mostly grown-ass people in their 30s don't have the attention span of a TikTok reel. But then again, outside of fanservice galore, this movie beats you over the head that it's an Illumination film. And it's not like the subplots in this movie are inherently bad ideas, but they're just all underdeveloped. I guess I should also mention that it barely feels like a Super Mario Galaxy movie. I don't know what is this movie's problem to just commit to even one thing and explore it consistently. It's Mario Galaxy at first, now it's Odyssey, now it's Super Mario World, now it's Yoshi's Island, now it's a Star Fox movie, now it's Mario Maker. And I did have fun recognizing whatever reference the movie threw at me, but I also realized what I'm experiencing was just a slideshow of rushing to the next thing fans can clap at. Because the pacing is so fast, not only are the new characters reduced to just member berries or they're just butchered, like at one point I forgot Honey Queen was even in this movie after seeing it. They do nothing new or interesting with the old characters. Everything flies by so fast that you don't feel any stakes or any attachment to the characters. You're just zoned out as you're flashbanged by pretty colors and remember Birdo? Remember Fishy Boopkins? Wait, was he even in the movie? I don't remember. Hey Nintendo, next time you want my attention, throw Bowser in. Illumination and Nintendo are afraid to spend just a bit more time and effort to add depth to their movie for some reason. Fast-paced movies can be great. Lego Movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Baby Driver. Also, they're movies with a story. A Mario movie is allowed to have slower moments, either for character development or hook you into its story and universe, especially when it's supposedly a Super Mario Galaxy movie. Imagine this moment from Project Hail Mary, but it's Mario being in awe at space or traveling through space. I can't let that play longer because of copyright, but you see what I mean. I will be talking about some extensive story details, so some spoilers warning. But if you want my honest opinion, you knowing these is not going to ruin your experience because the movie does not care enough to properly develop them or even treat them as a surprise. And let's be honest, most Mario fans are watching this for fan service, not story. Okay, time to address the 6 feet tall goddess in the room. Full transparency, I don't know much about Rosalina, but from what I understand, she is a fan favorite and has a profound backstory. So my only expectations are hoping that they would make me invest in this character and give her proper development and a reason for me to care about. And no, she spends the majority of the movie being trapped and you learn that she is Peach's sister. I was already a bit let down, but I can only imagine how pissed Rosalina fans must be. It's funny cause when Rosalina narrates her storybook and she talks about Peach for just a few seconds before the Lumas jump in and insist her to tell stories of Mario and Luigi instead, I already had suspicion creeping in my mind that they would not adapt the Rosalina storybook faithfully or give her any screen time. After 5 minutes and all the way to the end, I was like, yep, that's what I predicted. This backstory about Rosalina and Peach being sisters went by so quickly that it felt more like an explanation to show later on how they can win at the end with a power move rather than actually adding depth. Once she reunites with Peach, they don't even share a single meaningful conversation. We only get a hug. They just narrowly escaped death and finally met again after a long time. What's going on? They did so little with Rosalina that it was hard for me to care at all when she was being tortured. Frankly, you can just say they did very little for 90% of the characters in this movie. I mentioned previously that Mario and Luigi are together more often in this movie, but they had almost no chemistry. Hey, aren't they the Mario brothers? Almost every scene where Luigi talks to Mario is just him teasing Mario about his crush on Peach or giving him dating advice, but it's purely played for laughs and nothing more than that. And other scenes where they are actually doing stuff together are just excuses to show tons of references on screen, with maybe 1 or 2 lines actions that show their bond. The first Mario movie, that separated Mario and Luigi mind you, had more genuine brotherly chemistry between the two than its sequel.
Wow, you were great! I was great! Are you kidding me? You were great!
What about the accents? Is it too much?
Are you insane? He's 3 times your size!
Luigi, come on. You know, you can't be scared all the time.
You'd be surprised. Mario, we got one! The Super Mario Brothers are in business! Oh no, we're gonna be late.
No, we're not. Come on, let's go.
We have hit the big time.
First job complete.
Hey! You're not bringing me down. You know what? What do they know, huh? You are not seriously considering Mario!
It's all gonna be okay!
How is this gonna be okay? Mario, why do you look like a bear? What is this? Nothing can hurt us as long as we're together.
Very little of this was in Super Mario Galaxy. It's like they just fixed it by having Luigi be a physical presence in more scenes with Mario and said, hey look, they're together, happy now? Not a lot of comments on Peach. She's just kind of the same. She's cool and her getting the iconic umbrella is nice. There is a wholesome moment for you Mario and Peach shippers out there. But on that subplot about Peach and Mario, it gets brought up 2 or 3 times, for less than a minute. That's about it. The movie hints at Toad being jealous of Yoshi, and I get it's a tired trope, but once we get to this scene where Mario and Luigi are turned into babies, it's like Toad just immediately became friendly with Yoshi. Why set this up from the beginning? Toad could just be already infatuated with Yoshi right from the start and nothing would change. To be honest, I don't know why that baby Mario and Luigi scene was a thing to begin with. The only consistent plotline is Bowser and Jr.'s relationship. I do like father and son stuff in movies. Bowser Jr. actually feels like a threat, and that's a result of him growing up with Bowser and continuing his legacy even when his father was absent for a while. The scene where their relationship is explained in a puppet show was cute. That being said, Bowser's arc in this movie is frustrating, because the idea of Bowser growing fond of Mario and Luigi, leading to him feeling conflicted when Jr. tries to kill them, then leading to him wanting to reconnect with his son again and having to abandon any empathy he has left for Mario and Luigi. That is a potentially compelling character journey for Bowser. They had a blueprint, but Illumination saw the storyline and said, hey, let's just do the absolute bare minimum with it. We got 40 other Nintendo characters to show off. I also forgot to mention, at one point the Lumas just stopped caring when Rosalina was captured. Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't she their f***ing mother? I mean, I can't say I'm surprised that a studio like Illumination would reduce the Lumas to just mindless babies with baby jokes, but still.
We miss you so much!
Bitch, you f***ing did not.
Princess Peach.
Look, I am guilty of this problem. I was super hyped when Live and Learn played in the climax of Sonic 3. I pointed at the screen when Shadow Bonnie was in FNAF 2. In fact, I had a big smile on my face watching the post-credit scenes of Super Mario Galaxy. But all of these things for me that are just hype moments and aura don't replace the fact that I want to enjoy a film beyond just the superficial. And when you strip all that away from Super Mario Galaxy, all you get is a cluttered mess that offers you nothing of substance. And it drains the experience even more when you're not already a super die-hard Mario or Nintendo fan, because then if you expect the movie to do more than the lowest of efforts aside from Easter eggs and nice animation, what is there for you? This joke coming from Teen Titans Go, which had the same people behind it doing the Mario movies, is actually very poetic. If there is one thing I actually wish stayed a little longer, was the song Jump Up Superstar. You hear an instrumental version when Peach and Toad enter a casino, but I love that song, and I love Pauline. In fact, where is Pauline in this movie? If this is just going to be a slight show of references and cameos, why not have her return? In fact, where is Mario's family? They just don't matter anymore, I guess? I know this is Illumination, I know Miyamoto doesn't like stories, and yet I'm still shocked by how little they just care about making something above average. Look, plenty of Mario fans are just going to say that jingling keys is exactly what they want, and they don't care for substance. If that's what makes a Mario adaptation enjoyable enough for those fans, then that's fine. But the one thing between people who liked the movie and didn't like the movie can at least agree on, it's just references the movie.
I clapped when I saw it!
Overall, my thoughts on this movie can be boiled down to Super Mario Galaxy being a perfect example of potential movie. A sequel that had every opportunity to improve upon the first one in terms of writing and adapt the story from what is apparently one of the most beloved Mario games that actually have a good story, but choose the safest route possible to be a fanservice fest with no effort in story or characters or any desire to actually leave a meaningful impact on audiences because they know it will already make $1 billion. It's barely scraping 5 out of 10 at best, and it's a low 3 out of 10 at worst, but for now I'm giving it an extremely generous 5 out of 10. Now that we're on to reactions to this movie, let's finally talk about this. I can't believe we've gotten to a point where whenever a video game adaptation is considered for the fans, then it's likely not going to be a very good movie. It's depressing. If you enjoy this movie for the references and flashy colors and you're aware of its flaws and you are comfortable with your experience while acknowledging that others might dislike it, all the respect to you. I'm just going to talk about the other very loud online crowd of Mario fans. I don't know what it is about Mario fans being so protective of their brand that criticisms towards the movies is not welcome, and if you don't like the movie, you have no joy in whimsy. History just repeats itself with the first Mario movie, but it's not 2023 anymore. We just went through this with the FNAF 2 movie 5 months ago. I do agree that some of the reviews for this movie are mean-spirited. I mean, worse than AI. What the fuck? But outside of that, I don't know if Mario fans even realize that every time they throw the same types of defense, it just gives others more bullets to shoot down their dumb arguments with better ones. Like, is this cope or just a humiliation fetish? It's for kids, it's a kids movie. You're a grown-ass adult saying this. We should excuse poor quality for a kids movie because kids movies can't be good, I guess. Also, why are you insisting on a Mario movie being only for little kids when you are the adult actively seeking out to see this movie? Are our brains shrinking? For the record, none of you brought up this defense when Smurfs came out last year. In fact, none of you defended other Illumination movies like Despicable Me 4 or The Grinch or the first Minions, but I guess because none of them had the Mario IP on top. I'm not gonna go on a long tangent too much because all of these arguments from Mario fans are easy to obliterate. A Mario movie is capable of having a good story. 1. The Galaxy game itself is a material, and 2. People have made a great movie about Legos. Sonic 3 is a movie that managed to have both fanservice and a good story. What's your excuse? Critics are always wrong? Explain me this. Audience score is always more reliable? Explain me this. Movie makes a bunch of money so it means it's good? Explain this shit then. They speak as if Mario fans don't deserve a genuinely good film and that other studios shouldn't try more, and can't accept differing opinions that are more critical towards the movie. At this point, I'm not surprised the movie turned out the way it did because this is their standards. So you know what, maybe the Super Mario Galaxy movie is exactly what the fans deserve. A pretty movie with jingling keys and nothing of substance. But a lot of you guys out there have to accept the fact that plenty of people, including Mario fans, want more from a movie than just references and nice animation. Harsh criticisms are necessary for studios to do better, even if said studio is Illumination that only listens to money. If we wanted a movie that feels exactly like the Mario games where there is no story or substance, then we can just play the fucking games instead of watching a 1 hour 30 minutes commercial telling us to buy Nintendo products disguised as a movie.
Don't ask questions. Just consume product and then get excited for next product.
Movies and games are not the same experience, and evaluation when adapting a video game is important. It's called making a f***ing movie. I guarantee you, not a single person specifically asked for a Mario movie to be like The Godfather or Citizen Kane. Many people simply ask for a good Mario movie, if better, a great one with solid writing. If you love the movie, that is awesome, but don't expect everyone else, including Mario fans, to react the same way.
I know what that is! That's a
Comet Observatory.
And that's
Mouser.
It's
Yukiki.
I clapped when I saw the
Peak Mints.
and
King Wart.
and
Birdo. Octumbus.
I clapped the
Star Fox.
I clapped the
Moai.
I clapped! I got the reference! I clapped!
There's a whole other section of unhinged people who start praising the movie for political reasons, but all of this is culture war bullshit that I'm going to ignore. Anyway, Super Mario Galaxy movie, not the best thing ever, not the worst thing ever, not even a decent movie, and kind of below average the more I think about it. But it's making a lot of money, and they will make a third one, and the same kind of discourse will most likely happen. See you guys next time. I changed my mind, the movie is a 10 out of 10. Lord have mercy, Rosalina.
It's time to jump